There is a moment that comes for nearly everyone after 50. It arrives differently for each person, but its message is always the same. You notice that something has changed. A walk that once felt effortless now requires intention. A night of poor sleep, once easily shrugged off, now casts a shadow across the following day. A meal that never caused any particular reaction now leaves you feeling heavy or sluggish. These moments are easy to dismiss as random, as isolated incidents, as simply part of getting older. But what if they are not random at all? What if they are signals? What if the body, in its quiet way, is telling you that it has entered a period of reorganization, a transition that follows a pattern as predictable as the seasons? Most people over 50 never realize that aging does not proceed as a gentle, steady decline. It moves in waves. There are times of relative stability, and then there are times of accelerated change. The mistake is to treat all years as the same, to live as if what worked at 30 will work at 55, to ignore the signals until they become too loud to dismiss. The question is not whether these transitions will come. They will. The question is whether you will recognize them for what they are, and whether you will be prepared when they arrive. You are listening to the Longevity Library, where we archive the wisdom of healthy aging. The architecture of aging. Understanding life's second half. There comes a moment, often unannounced, when the body begins to speak in a different language. A meal that once caused no particular reaction now sits heavily. A night of short sleep, once easily overcome, now casts a shadow across several days. The joints, for so long silent and reliable, offer small creaks of protest after unfamiliar activity. These moments are not failures of health. They are communications, signals from a system that is reorganizing itself according to a timetable that has been operating beneath awareness for decades. For most of human history, the experience of aging was accepted as mysterious and largely immutable. People aged, and the process was observed but not deeply understood. In recent decades, however, a different picture has emerged. Researchers following large groups of people over many years, examining not just their chronological age but the molecular changes occurring within their bodies, have discovered something that challenges the old assumptions. Aging does not proceed as a gentle, steady decline. It advances in waves. There appear to be periods of relative stability punctuated by times of more rapid change, times when multiple systems within the body shift in coordinated ways. This understanding changes the conversation about growing older. If aging were simply a matter of time passing, there would be little to do but accept whatever comes. But if aging involves predictable periods of transition, then preparation becomes possible. The question is not whether these transitions will occur, but how the body will move through them. And the answer to that question appears to depend, to a considerable degree, on choices made not just in the moment of transition, but in the years and decades before. The pattern of change, the idea that aging might proceed in steps rather than as a continuous slope, emerged from studies that followed individuals closely over time, collecting not just basic health information but detailed molecular data. When researchers at a major university tracked more than 100 people ranging in age from their mid-20s to mid-70s, analyzing thousands of different molecules in their blood and other tissues, a pattern became visible. Instead of gradual change across all ages, there were two periods when the pace of change accelerated noticeably. The first of these periods centered around age 44. The second occurred near age 60. During these windows, the researchers observed shifts across multiple biological systems simultaneously. The molecules involved in metabolism changed. The proteins circulating in blood altered their concentrations. The patterns of gene expression, which genes are active and to what degree, showed significant reorganization. It was as if the body having maintained a certain equilibrium for years, was recalibrating itself. These findings help explain observations that clinicians have made for generations. Around age 40, many people begin to notice changes that seem more pronounced than the simple passage of time would suggest. Skin loses some of its elasticity. Hair may thin or change texture. Energy levels, once reliable, become more variable. And it is around this age that certain chronic conditions, particularly those involving the heart and blood vessels, begin to appear with greater frequency in the population. The transition at 60 brings its own set of changes. Muscle mass, which may have been gradually declining for years, can begin to decrease more noticeably. The immune system functions differently. Recovery from injury or illness takes longer. The period between 60 and 70 has long been recognized by those who work with older adults as a challenging decade, a time when the accumulated effects of aging become more difficult to ignore. What makes this research valuable is not that it reveals something entirely new about the experience of aging. Most people who have lived through these decades recognize something of themselves in this description. The value lies in the confirmation that these experiences are not random or idiosyncratic. They reflect underlying biological processes that appear to be universal. And if the processes are universal, then the strategies for navigating them may be similarly applicable across many individuals. The question of timing. Why these particular ages? Why would the body undergo such reorganization around 44 and again around 60? The researchers who conducted this work do not claim to have a complete answer. The human body is not a machine with a predetermined maintenance schedule. It is a living system that responds to countless inputs: diet, activity, stress, environment, social connection, in ways that are complex and often unpredictable. Yet the consistency of the finding across the individuals studied suggests that something fundamental is occurring. One possibility is that these transitions represent the cumulative effects of time finally crossing certain thresholds. Cells have been dividing and renewing themselves throughout life. But each division carries a small cost: the shortening of protective caps on chromosomes, the accumulation of minor damage that repair systems cannot quite fix. After enough decades, these small costs add up to functional changes. Another possibility involves the intricate communication systems that coordinate activity across different tissues and organs. Hormones, immune signaling molecules, and nervous system connections all carry messages between parts of the body. With age, these communication networks may begin to transmit differently. Signals become weaker or noisier. Responses become slower or less precise. When enough of these communication lines degrade, the entire system may need to find a new way of operating. There is also the question of energy allocation. The body has limited resources and must constantly decide how to deploy them. In youth, a greater proportion goes toward growth and reproduction. As the years pass, more must go toward maintenance and repair. At certain points, the balance may shift in ways that require widespread adjustment. Whatever the underlying mechanisms, the practical implication is clear. The body's needs change at different stages of life. Strategies that worked well at 30 may be less effective at 45. And different again at 65. The wise approach is not to find a single set of habits and maintain them unchanged throughout life, but to remain attentive to the body's changing requirements and adjust accordingly. The foundation of movement. Among all the factors that influence how the body navigates its aging transitions, physical activity stands out as perhaps the most powerful and the most accessible. The human body was designed for movement. Every system within it, muscles, bones, heart, lungs, blood vessels, nerves, even the brain itself, functions better when called upon to perform regularly. Consider what happens in muscle tissue. Muscle is not merely the engine that enables movement. It is also a metabolic organ, consuming significant amounts of energy even at rest and helping to regulate blood sugar throughout the body. When muscle mass declines, as it tends to do with age, this metabolic function declines with it. Blood sugar becomes harder to control. Energy levels may drop. The body becomes less resilient to stress. But muscle loss is not inevitable. It is, to a significant degree, a response to disuse. Muscles that are challenged regularly, lifted against resistance, stretched through full ranges of motion, called upon to generate force, respond by maintaining their mass and function. This is not a matter of becoming a bodybuilder or athlete. It is a matter of providing muscles with the stimulus they need to justify their continued maintenance. The type of activity matters. Activities that build strength, such as lifting weights or using resistance bands, send a different signal to the body than activities that build endurance, such as walking or cycling. Both signals are valuable. Strength training tells the body to preserve and even build muscle tissue, which supports metabolism and protects against falls and fractures. Endurance training tells the heart and lungs to maintain their capacity, which supports cardiovascular health and energy production throughout the body. For those who have been active throughout life, continuing these habits into the later decades provides enormous benefit. But it is never too late to begin. Studies of individuals who started exercise programs in their 70s and 80s have shown significant improvements in strength, mobility, and function. The body retains its ability to respond to physical challenge well into advanced age. The key is consistency and progression. A single bout of exercise, however vigorous, produces only temporary effects. Lasting change requires regular repetition, activity spread across most days of the week, sustained over months and years. And the body adapts to whatever level of activity it is given. To continue improving, or even to maintain function, the challenge must increase gradually over time. This does not mean pushing to exhaustion or risking injury. It means small, steady increments, a few more minutes, a few more repetitions, a slightly heavier weight that keep the body adapting. There is also value in variety. Different activities challenge the body in different ways. Walking provides excellent cardiovascular stimulation, but does little for upper body strength. Swimming builds endurance and spares joints, but does not load the bones in ways that maintain density. A well-rounded approach includes activities that build strength, activities that build endurance, and activities that maintain balance and flexibility. The latter become increasingly important with age, as falls are a major source of injury and loss of independence among older adults. Some activities combine multiple benefits. Cross-country skiing, for example, engages both upper and lower body, builds both strength and endurance, provides cardiovascular challenge without high impact on joints, and often occurs in natural settings that offer additional psychological benefits. Individuals who continue cross-country skiing into their 70s and 80s often demonstrate remarkable fitness and function. Similar benefits can be found in swimming, cycling, rowing, and other activities that engage large muscle groups in sustained effort. The changing relationship with food. If movement is about challenging the body, nourishment is about providing it with what it needs to respond to those challenges. And just as the body's response to exercise changes with age, so too does its relationship with food. One of the most consistent findings in aging research involves protein. Throughout life, the body constantly breaks down and rebuilds its proteins, the structural components of muscles, organs, enzymes, and countless other essential molecules. In youth, the rebuilding keeps pace with the breakdown, and protein consumed in the diet supports this ongoing maintenance. With age, however, the rebuilding process becomes less efficient. The body needs more dietary protein to achieve the same result. This phenomenon, sometimes called anabolic resistance, has practical implications for how older adults should approach their meals. The protein recommendation for younger adults, around 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight daily, may be insufficient for those over 50. Many researchers now suggest that older adults benefit from intakes in the range of 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram, or roughly 0.5 to 0.7 grams per pound of body weight. For someone with an ideal body weight of 160 pounds, this translates to 80 to 110 grams of protein daily. Distributing this protein across meals matters as well. The body's ability to use protein for muscle building appears to be limited in each meal. Consuming most of the day's protein in a single large dinner may be less effective than spreading it across breakfast, lunch, and dinner, with each meal providing 25 to 40 grams. The quality of protein also matters. Proteins are made up of amino acids, some of which the body can produce on its own and some of which must come from food. The latter, called essential amino acids, are particularly important for stimulating muscle building. Animal sources, meat, poultry, fish, eggs, dairy, typically provide all essential amino acids in proportions that the body can use efficiently. Plant sources can also provide complete protein when combined thoughtfully, though they may require larger quantities to achieve the same effect. Carbohydrates present a different consideration. The body's ability to handle carbohydrates tends to decline with age, particularly if physical activity declines as well. Carbohydrates are not inherently problematic. They are the body's preferred fuel source and provide energy for activity and for basic metabolic functions. But when carbohydrate intake exceeds the body's capacity to use or store it, blood sugar rises, and over time, this can lead to metabolic disturbances. The solution is not necessarily to eliminate carbohydrates, but to match intake to activity level. Someone who is physically active throughout the day, whether through work or exercise, may utilize carbohydrates efficiently. Someone who is largely sedentary does not need large amounts of carbohydrates and may function better with fewer. The quality of carbohydrates matters as well. Whole foods that retain their natural fiber, vegetables, fruits, legumes, intact grains, release their sugars more slowly and provide nutrients that processed carbohydrates lack. Fats have been the subject of much confusion in public discourse. For decades, dietary fat was portrayed as inherently harmful, a view that has since been refined by research. The body needs fat for numerous functions, building cell membranes, producing hormones, absorbing certain vitamins, maintaining nerve health. The key is the type of fat consumed. Fats from whole foods, olive oil, avocados, nuts, seeds, fatty fish support health in ways that fats from processed foods and industrial oils do not. The timing of meals also deserves attention. The body operates on circadian rhythms that affect how it processes food at different times of day. Eating large meals late in the evening, close to bedtime, may disrupt sleep and lead to less efficient processing of nutrients. Allowing several hours between the last meal and bedtime gives the digestive system time to complete its work before the body shifts into its overnight maintenance and repair activities. The cellular world, while the visible aspects of aging, changes in appearance, energy, function, are what most people notice. The invisible processes occurring within cells are where aging actually happens. Understanding these processes, at least in general terms, provides insight into why certain lifestyle choices matter. Every cell in the body contains mitochondria, tiny structures sometimes described as the cell's power plants. Their job is to convert the energy from food into a form the cell can use. Mitochondria are numerous in cells with high energy demands, muscle cells, nerve cells, heart cells, and their function tends to decline with age. When mitochondria become less efficient, cells have less energy available for their various tasks, and they may produce more waste products that can damage other cellular components. Physical activity is one of the most effective ways to support mitochondrial health. Exercise creates demand for energy, and mitochondria respond by becoming more numerous and more efficient. This is one reason why active individuals often report having more energy, even in later decades. Their cellular power plants are better maintained and better able to meet the body's needs. Another cellular process involves the constant turnover of proteins. Cells are continually manufacturing new proteins and breaking down old ones. With age, this quality control system becomes less efficient. Damaged proteins may accumulate, interfering with cellular function. Old or malfunctioning cells may linger instead of being cleared away, releasing signals that promote inflammation in surrounding tissues. This accumulation of senescent cells, cells that have stopped dividing but remain metabolically active, is thought to contribute to many age-related conditions. These cells secrete inflammatory molecules that affect nearby cells, potentially spreading dysfunction. The body has mechanisms for clearing senescent cells, but these mechanisms become less effective with age. Exercise again appears to play a role. Physical activity stimulates processes that help clear damaged proteins and may enhance the removal of senescent cells. So does fasting, at least in some contexts. Periods without food create mild stress that prompts cells to ramp up their quality control systems, breaking down and recycling damaged components. This may be one reason why patterns of eating that include regular periods without food have been associated with various health benefits in aging populations. The genetic material within cells also changes with age, though not in the way many people imagine. The DNA sequence itself is remarkably stable throughout life. What changes is which genes are active, which are turned on or off, and to what degree. This pattern of gene activity, sometimes called the epigenome, responds to environmental inputs. Diet, exercise, stress, sleep, and social connections all influence which genes are expressed. This is why lifestyle choices have such profound effects on health outcomes. They are not changing the fundamental genetic blueprint inherited from parents. They are influencing how that blueprint is read and implemented. Two individuals with similar genetic inheritance can have very different health trajectories based on how they live. The genes provide possibilities. Lifestyle determines which possibilities are realized. The chemistry of stress and protection within the body's cells. A constant battle plays out between forces that create damage and forces that repair it. On one side are reactive molecules, often called oxidants or free radicals, that are normal byproducts of metabolism. These molecules can damage cellular components if they accumulate excessively. On the other side are antioxidant systems that neutralize reactive molecules before they cause harm. With age, this balance tends to shift. Oxidant production may increase. Antioxidant defenses may decline, or both. The result is a state sometimes called oxidative stress, which contributes to the gradual accumulation of damage in cells throughout the body. The body's primary internal antioxidant is a molecule called glutathione. It is produced within cells from amino acids, specifically from cysteine, glycine, and glutamate. Glutathione directly neutralizes reactive molecules and helps recycle other antioxidants. It is essential for cellular health, and its levels tend to decline with age. Supporting glutathione production is one way to help the body maintain its antioxidant defenses. This does not mean taking glutathione directly, which is poorly absorbed and may not reach cells effectively. It means providing the building blocks the body needs to make its own glutathione. Cysteine is often the limiting factor, the amino acid most likely to be in short supply. N-acetylcysteine, a form of cysteine that is well absorbed, can help supply this raw material. Glycine, another amino acid involved in glutathione synthesis, may also become less available with age. Research on this topic has shown promising results. In one study, older adults who supplemented with N-acetylcysteine and glycine for several months showed improvements in multiple measures of cellular health. Their glutathione levels increased, and markers of oxidative stress declined. This is not a matter of reversing aging or curing disease, but of supporting the body's natural maintenance systems. Other nutrients also play roles in cellular protection. Certain vitamins and minerals are essential cofactors for antioxidant enzymes. Plant compounds called polyphenol, found abundantly in colorful fruits and vegetables, have antioxidant properties of their own. The traditional advice to eat a variety of whole foods, particularly plants, provides the body with a broad array of these supportive compounds. The nervous system and sleep. The brain and nervous system are not separate from the rest of the body, but intimately connected to it. Changes in physical health affect the brain, and changes in the brain affect physical health. This bidirectional relationship becomes increasingly important with age. Sleep is perhaps the most obvious example. Sleep is not merely a period of rest, but an active state during which the body performs essential maintenance. The brain clears waste products that accumulate during waking hours. Memories are consolidated. Hormones that regulate appetite, stress, and growth are released in specific patterns. The cardiovascular system slows and recovers from the day's demands. With age, sleep often becomes lighter and more fragmented. The deep stages of sleep, most important for physical restoration, may shorten. Waking during the night becomes more common. These changes are partly a result of aging itself and partly a response to other factors: pain, medications, changes in daily routines. Protecting sleep becomes increasingly important in this context. Consistent sleep and wake times help anchor the body's internal clock. A dark, cool, quiet bedroom supports sleep initiation and maintenance. Avoiding screens in the hour before bed reduces exposure to light that can suppress melatonin, the hormone that signals the body to prepare for sleep. Allowing several hours between the last meal and bedtime gives digestion time to complete before the body shifts into its overnight state. Physical activity during the day promotes sleep at night. The body builds sleep pressure throughout waking hours, and exercise increases this pressure, making it easier to fall asleep and stay asleep. This is one of the many ways in which activity and rest support each other. Each makes the other more effective. The nervous system also mediates the body's response to stress. When the brain perceives a threat, it activates the sympathetic nervous system, sometimes called the fight or flight response. Heart rate increases, blood pressure rises, stress hormones are released. This response is essential for survival in acute situations. But when it becomes chronic, activated day after day by work pressures, financial worries, relationship difficulties, it takes a toll on the body. Chronic stress activation has been linked to accelerated aging in multiple studies. It promotes inflammation, impairs immune function, disrupts sleep, and may affect the epigenetic patterns mentioned earlier. The body was designed for intermittent stress followed by recovery, not for continuous low-grade activation. Managing stress does not mean eliminating all challenges from life. It means building in periods of recovery, times when the nervous system can shift back into its rest and digest mode. Practices that promote this shift include time in nature, social connection, meditation or contemplative practice, and simply allowing for unstructured time, even brief periods of calm, repeated regularly, can help reset the stress response and prevent chronic activation. Social connections and purpose. Humans evolved as social creatures, living in groups and depending on each other for survival. This social nature is not just a cultural preference, but a biological reality. The nervous system expects and requires social connection for healthy function. Research on aging populations has consistently found that social connection is one of the strongest predictors of health and longevity. People with strong social ties, family, friends, community involvement, tend to live longer and healthier lives than those who are isolated. This relationship holds even after accounting for other factors like health behaviors and socioeconomic status. Several mechanisms may explain this connection. Social support buffers the effects of stress. Having someone to talk to during difficult times dampens the stress response. Social engagement provides motivation for self-care. People who are connected to others tend to eat better, exercise more, and keep medical appointments. Social interaction itself stimulates the brain and nervous system in ways that maintain function. The opposite of social connection, loneliness, appears to be directly harmful. Loneliness activates stress pathways similar to those activated by physical threats. It increases inflammation, impairs immune function, and may accelerate cognitive decline. The subjective experience of loneliness, regardless of objective social circumstances, predicts poor health outcomes. For older adults, maintaining social connections requires intentional effort. Retirement may reduce daily contact with colleagues. Children may move away. Friends and family members may become ill or die. Building new connections through volunteer work, community organizations, exercise classes, religious or spiritual communities can fill these gaps. So can maintaining connections across distances through phone calls, letters, or video conversations. Beyond social connection, having a sense of purpose, a reason to get up in the morning, something that feels meaningful, has been linked to better health outcomes in aging. Purpose might come from work, from caregiving, from creative pursuits, from spiritual practice, from involvement in causes larger than oneself. The specific source matters less than the presence of something that feels significant. Research on purpose and aging has found that individuals who report a strong sense of purpose tend to maintain physical function better, have lower rates of chronic disease, and live longer than those who lack purpose. This may be because purpose motivates health behaviors. People who have reasons to stay healthy are more likely to engage in activities that preserve health. It may also be that purpose itself, the engagement in meaningful activity, directly supports nervous system function and resilience. Environmental influences. The body does not exist in isolation, but in constant exchange with its environment. The air breathed, the water drunk, the surfaces touched, the substances applied to skin. All of these interact with biological systems in ways that can support or undermine health. Attention to environmental factors often focuses on obvious hazards, air pollution, contaminated water, toxic chemicals. These are real concerns, and minimizing exposure to them makes sense. But the environmental conversation also includes positive factors, elements of the surroundings that actively support health. Time in natural environments has been shown to reduce stress, lower blood pressure, improve mood, and enhance cognitive function. These effects are not merely psychological, but physiological. Exposure to natural settings shifts the nervous system toward its rest and digest mode. The sights, sounds, and smells of nature appear to have direct calming effects on the brain. For older adults, access to nature may be particularly valuable. A garden to tend, a park to walk in, a view of trees from a window. These provide opportunities for gentle activity, sensory engagement, and stress reduction. Even brief exposure to natural elements, such as looking at images of nature or listening to natural sounds, can produce measurable benefits. The built environment also matters. Homes that are safe and comfortable support independence. Good lighting reduces fall risk. Accessible design accommodates changing physical abilities. Neighborhoods that are walkable and safe encourage physical activity. Proximity to services and social opportunities supports engagement with the community. The quality of food available in the environment shapes dietary patterns. People who live in areas with ready access to fresh, whole foods tend to eat better than those who live in food deserts where processed options dominate. This is not a matter of individual willpower, but of the choices that are made available by the environment. Similarly, the social environment, the norms and expectations of the communities people live in, influences behavior. In communities where physical activity is common and valued, people tend to be more active. In communities where social connection is emphasized, people tend to be more connected. These environmental factors operate largely beneath awareness, but shape daily choices in powerful ways. The integration of strategies. The various elements discussed so far: movement, nourishment, cellular support, sleep, stress management, social connection, purpose, environment, are not separate interventions to be applied independently. They are interconnected aspects of a single system, each influencing the others. Physical activity affects sleep quality, which affects stress levels, which affects social engagement. The food choices people make are influenced by their social context and their environment. Purpose provides motivation for self-care, which includes attention to movement and nourishment. These connections mean that improvements in one area tend to support improvements in others, and neglect in one area can undermine efforts in others. This is why simplistic approaches to healthy aging often fail. Focusing narrowly on diet while ignoring movement yields limited results. Emphasizing exercise while neglecting sleep leaves potential benefits unrealized. Pursuing social connection while ignoring environmental factors may not produce lasting change. The body is a system, and systems require comprehensive attention. For individuals navigating the aging transitions, this suggests an approach based on patterns rather than rules. Instead of asking, "What should I eat?" or "How should I exercise?" the more useful question may be, "How can I live in a way that supports my body's changing needs?" This shifts the focus from isolated behaviors to integrated ways of living. Practical examples help illustrate this integrated approach. Consider someone who decides to join a walking group. This single choice addresses multiple areas at once. Walking provides physical activity. The group setting provides social connection. Walking outdoors provides environmental engagement. Regular walks at consistent times help anchor daily rhythms that support sleep. All of these benefits flow from a single activity. Similarly, someone who takes up gardening engages in physical activity, spends time in nature, produces food that may improve diet, and often connects with other gardeners or shares produce with neighbors. Again, multiple benefits from one choice. The principle is that choices with multiple positive effects are more efficient and more sustainable than choices that address only one area. They fit more naturally into daily life and create reinforcing cycles. Activity leads to better sleep, which provides more energy for activity, which supports social engagement, and so on. Preparing for transitions. The research identifying accelerated aging periods around 44 and 60 offers guidance for how to think about timing. The choices made in the years before these transitions influence how the body navigates them. Consider the transition around 44. The habits established in the 30s, regular physical activity, dietary patterns, stress management practices, create a foundation that determines how much biological reserve the body has entering this period. Someone who has maintained muscle mass through regular strength training enters the 40s with greater metabolic capacity than someone who has been sedentary. Someone who has eaten a diet rich in whole foods enters with better nourished cells than someone who has consumed mostly processed options. This is not about perfection. Few people maintain ideal habits consistently across decades, but general patterns matter. The direction of travel, toward healthier patterns or away from them, accumulates over time and shapes outcomes. The period between 44 and 60 represents an opportunity for adjustment. For those who recognize that their habits could be improved, this is the time to make changes. The body remains responsive to intervention. Muscle can be built even in people who have never lifted weights. Dietary patterns can shift. Sleep can be improved. Stress management can be learned. The changes made during this window influence how the body enters the next transition. After 60, the stakes become higher and the margin for error smaller. But the capacity for improvement remains. Studies of individuals who began exercise programs in their 70s have shown meaningful gains in strength and function. Dietary improvements produce benefits at any age. Social connections can be formed. Purpose can be discovered or rediscovered. The body's ability to respond to positive inputs does not disappear with age, though the pace of response may slow. A calm perspective, the research on aging, for all its complexity, ultimately points to a simple conclusion. How people live matters. The choices made day after day, year after year, accumulate into outcomes. This is not a matter of perfect adherence to rigid rules, but of general direction and consistent patterns. For those in the decades past 50, the message is one of possibility rather than limitation. The body retains its ability to respond to positive inputs. Strength can be maintained or regained. Function can be preserved. Engagement with life can continue and deepen. The changes that come with age are real, but they do not negate the capacity for growth and adaptation. The transitions around 44 and 60 are not crises to be feared, but passages to be navigated. Understanding that they are coming allows for preparation. Knowing that lifestyle choices influence how they unfold provides motivation for attention to daily habits. The body speaks in its own language, through signals that are easy to ignore in the noise of daily life. Learning to hear those signals, to respond with care rather than denial, is the ongoing work of aging well. This work does not require heroic efforts or dramatic transformations. It requires consistency, regular movement, attention to nourishment, protection of sleep, cultivation of connection, engagement with meaning. These are not extraordinary practices, but fundamental human activities, as old as our species. They are the architecture within which aging unfolds, the framework that supports the body through its changes. The research provides confirmation for what many traditional cultures have long understood. How we live shapes how we age. The body is not a machine that runs down on a fixed schedule, but a living system that responds to its conditions. By attending to those conditions, by moving, eating, resting, connecting, and engaging in ways that honor the body's needs, we influence the trajectory of our own aging, not to stop it, which is neither possible nor desirable, but to shape it, to move through its transitions with greater resilience and continued capacity for the activities and relationships that give life meaning. The research into how humans age reveals something both simple and profound. The body is not a machine that runs down on a fixed schedule, but a living system that responds to how it is treated across the decades. The transitions at 44 and 60 are not walls that must be climbed, but doorways that can be navigated with greater ease when the right foundations are in place. The single most important takeaway from everything we have explored is this: how you live shapes how you age, not through dramatic interventions, but through the quiet accumulation of daily choices, the walks taken, the meals chosen, the sleep protected, the connections maintained. If something in this discussion resonated with you, if it prompted reflection on your own journey or raised questions you would like to explore further, we invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. The conversation around healthy aging is enriched by those who are living it. And if you would like to continue building your understanding of how to navigate the second half of life with strength and clarity, we invite you to explore other videos in this library and to subscribe so that new wisdom finds its way to you. This is the Longevity Library. Listen, learn, and live longer.